They rented the most exclusive banquet hall in the city, not to celebrate my 30th birthday, but to publicly execute my reputation. 50 relatives sat in silence as my father tapped a spoon against his champagne flute, preparing to announce that I was no longer his daughter. I stood there, trembling in a teal silk dress, while they waited for me to crumble. But they made one critical mistake. They handed me the microphone, and they had no idea that the woman sitting quietly in the back corner had brought enough evidence to burn their entire legacy to the ground. Before we get to the fireworks, if you've ever felt like the black sheep in a family of wolves, hit that like button. And tell me in the comments, what time is it where you are right now? To understand how I ended up on trial at my own party, we have to go back 4 weeks. I was in my element, forearms caked in gray sludge, the air in my workshop heavy with the scent of damp soil and dark roast. My phone vibrated against the workbench, buzzing with a persistence that annoyed me. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the caller ID. My mother didn't do phone calls. She dealt in sterile, command-like text messages. Seeing her name flash across the screen made my stomach turn over. I wiped the mud onto my apron and answered Elena. Her voice was dripping with artificial sugar, a warmth that didn't reach her eyes, even over the phone. That was the first warning sign. Unworking mother, is everything okay? Your father and I have been discussing things. She let the silence stretch, a power move she'd perfected years ago. It is time the family gathered. Properly. For your 30th dot, I nearly dropped the device. In 3 decades, she had never considered my birthday an event worth noting. On my 25th, the phone hadn't rung once. Not from her, not from Dad, not from Sarah. A dinner? I asked, skepticism leaking into my voice. For me, the entire family wants to see you. Her tone hardened, losing the sugary facade. Do not be late. Saturday at 7. The Obsidian Club, the Obsidian. The venue where they announce Sarah's fellowship. The stage for every vanity project my parents had ever launched. I'll be there. I whispered. Excellent. The line went dead. I stood there in the quiet of my studio, listening to the silence. My hands were shaking, leaving dusty smudges on the screen. Instinct told me to run, but hope, that desperate, foolish thing, whispered that maybe they had changed. Maybe this was the olive branch. I should have trusted my nausea. 2 days later, my sister Sarah appeared at my shop. She hadn't visited in the 3 years since I'd signed the lease. Yet there she was, framed in the doorway in her pristine lab coat, scanning the room like she was inspecting a crime scene. Quaint, she sneered. It wasn't praise. What do you need, Sarah? She picked up a finished bowl, inspected the price tag, and set it down with a clatter. I've been thinking about the lake house. There it was. The motive. The lake house isn't on the market, Sarah. It's just sitting there while my practice is hemorrhaging cash. She finally met my eyes, her gaze flat. Grandmother left it to me. That was her choice. Sarah's jaw clenched. Grandmother's gone. She doesn't need a vacation home, but I need liquidity. The family needs those funds. I placed my sculpting tool on the table. That house is where she taught me how to center clay. It's not an asset to me. God, you're so dramatic. She rolled her eyes. This is exactly why Mother and Dad. She caught herself. Why Mother and Dad what? She flashed that practice, patient smile she used on difficult clients. Nothing. Forget it. Just show up on Saturday. Mother has arrangements. The word hung in the dusty air. Arrangements. I see. I said. See you there. Wear something expensive. The whole clan will be watching. Bell chimed as she left. I stood frozen among my wheels and kilns, her words bouncing around my skull. The whole clan will be watching? Arrangements? What exactly had I walked into? Sleep was impossible that night. My mind kept drifting to the lake house and to Grandmother Rose. She was the only person in our bloodline who made me feel visible. I was 15 the first summer she took me in. My parents had sent me away, calling me difficult and rebellious. I arrived at the lake angry, ready to burn the world down. Rose didn't try to mold me. She just handed me a block of clay. Your hands have a language, Elena. She guided my fingers on the spinning wheel, her voice steady over the lapping water. That is a power your mother will never comprehend, Dot. It was the first time anyone had framed my existence as a gift rather than a burden. Every summer I returned. We threw pots, walked the shoreline, and existed in peace. She came to my first gallery opening when I was 22, the only relative who bothered. She sat in the front, eyes wet, applauding until her palms were red. 6 months ago, she passed away in her sleep, peaceful on her own terms. She left me the lake house in a small, locked cedar box I hadn't found the courage to open. The night before the celebration, I finally grasped the magnitude of her absence. It wasn't just losing her, it was losing my only witness. Without Rose, no one in that family saw me, or so I believed. I had no clue that another pair of eyes had been tracking me for years. The campaign began 72 hours before the party. Subtle at first. A text from my cousin Julie. Hey, heard you're selling the lake place. So noble of you. I wasn't selling anything. Who was spinning this narrative? Then Dad called. His voice was absolute zero. Your mother is distraught, Elena. Grip the receiver. Over what? The property. You know exactly what. He sighed, that heavy, disappointed exhale that had been the soundtrack of my youth. We provided everything. We funded your artistic phases even when they were humiliating. And now, when the family requires unity, you hoard resources? Grandmother left it to me in a legal will, Dad. Wills can be challenged. His voice dropped, low and dangerous. Loyalty shouldn't have to be. The threat paralyzed me. Was I being greedy? That question had gnawed at me for weeks. Sarah's clinic was in the red. My parents had invested heavily in her status, her career, and here I was, owning a prime waterfront estate. But every time I thought about capitulating, I heard Rose's voice. Promise me, darling. Never let them shrink you. If you possess a shred of decency, Dad continued, you will do the right thing. Come to dinner. We will settle this like adults. And if you refuse to cooperate, well, we will know where you stand. He hung up. I sat in the dark, doing the calculus. If I sold the house, I lost the last trace of her. If I kept it, I lost them. But a quiet voice in my gut asked, did you ever actually have them? The evening of the dinner, I unzipped the dress bag. Teal silk, floor length with intricate beadwork. Rose had bought it for my 21st, for when you need armor, she'd said. I hadn't worn it since the funeral. I laid it on the bed, trying to convince myself that tomorrow wouldn't be a disaster. That maybe my parents just wanted to mark the milestone. My phone buzzed. Block number. The text was terse. Don't go tomorrow. It's a trap. My heart skipped. A beat. I typed back. Who is this? 3 dots danced, then vanished. When I dialed the number, it was out of service. I sat on the edge of the mattress, pulse thundering. A prank or a warning? My eyes fell on the cedar box on my nightstand. Rose's box. Slowly, I lifted the lid. Inside lay a folded letter and an old Polaroid. 2 women, arm in arm, laughing. One was unmistakably my mother, young and vibrant. The other I didn't know. I unfolded the paper. Rose's script was shaky but fierce. My dearest Elena, ... I couldn't read it. Not yet. If I read it now, I would lose the nerve to walk into that restaurant. I needed to cling to the fantasy that my parents might love me for 24 more hours. I tucked the letter into my clutch, just in case. Then I hung the teal dress on the door and tried to shut off my brain. Tomorrow, the world would shift. I just didn't know the velocity yet. The Obsidian Club was intimidating at night. Crystal fixtures, velvet drapes, the hush of serious wealth. I'd only visited twice, both times to celebrate Sarah. The hostess beamed when I gave my name. Ah, the Vance party. Follow me, Dot. She led me down a corridor of oil portraits, past the main floor, through heavy mahogany doors. Your private suite, she announced, swinging them opened up 50 faces swiveled to inspect me. I froze. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to since grade school. Great-aunts I thought were deceased. They filled a massive U-shaped table. Everyone was in formal wear. Everyone was staring. My heart hammered against my ribs. A surprise party? It had to be. Why else gather the army? But there were no balloons, no streamers, no smiles. Just a heavy, judgmental silence. I saw my parents at the head, mother in diamonds, dad wearing his boardroom mask. Sarah sat next to them, studying the tablecloth. And in the center of the U, facing the firing squad, was a single empty chair. I walked toward it, heels echoing on the marble, feeling the weight of 50 gazes pressing into my skin. The room was suffocating, like a courtroom waiting for a sentence. A microphone stand was positioned next to my father. That's when I saw her. A woman in the far shadows, gray hair pulled back, watching me with an expression I couldn't decipher. She looked familiar. An anxious doubt. My mother smiled, that tight expression she wore before checkmate. Elena, sit. We have been waiting. I had barely touched the velvet cushion when my father stood. He grabbed a spoon and tapped his glass. Clink, clink, clink. The room went from quiet to dead. Thank you all for assembling tonight. His voice projected like he was addressing shareholders. We are here for a family crisis, not a celebration. Not for my daughter's birthday. My blood ran cold. As you are aware, he continued. Elena has made choices that distress us. She abandoned her potential. She refused a respectable path. She lives in a way that insults our values. Whispers rippled through the room. I heard a cousin mutter, always knew she was a waste. My father's eyes locked onto mine. Margaret and I have tried everything. Patience, funding, counsel. But Elena refuses to evolve. She refuses to honor this family. My mother dabbed a dry eye with a napkin. A masterclass in performance art. Therefore, my father announced, we are making a formal declaration. He paused for effect. Elena Vance is no longer a member of this family. The words hit me like physical slaps. Gasps filled the room. Cousin Julie covered her mouth. Uncle Bob shook his head. Is this real? Someone whispered. My mother stood, smoothing her gown. We gave her every chance. Her voice trembled with rehearsed sorrow. She chose selfishness over blood. I couldn't breathe. 50 pairs of eyes burned into me, and I was 15 again, standing in the hallway, being told I was too much trouble to love. Then my mother reached into her designer bag and produced a document. It landed in front of me with a thud. Sign this, she commanded, and we will let you leave with your dignity. I looked down. The text blurred, then snapped into focus. Legal headers, dense paragraphs, and at the bottom, a line for my signature. Voluntary forfeiture of inheritance rights. The lake house. The puzzle pieces snapped together. The surprise invitation. The family crisis. 50 witnesses in their Sunday best. They hadn't gathered everyone to banish me. They gathered everyone to bully me into signing away Rose's estate. The disownment was just theater, a pressure tactic, designed to break my will. You orchestrated this, I whispered. We organized an intervention, my mother corrected smoothly. For your own salvation. I spotted a man in a dark suit by the door. Mr. Henderson, the family attorney. He was clutching a notary seal, ready to finalize the theft. My mother leaned in, her perfume cloying. 50 witnesses, Elena, Rose's probate lawyer, cannot argue with this level of family consensus. She capped the paper with a manicured nail. Sign. Walk away. Do not make this uglier than it needs to be. The room waited. I felt their judgment, some pitying, some eager for the crash. My hand shook. My vision swam. They had turned my 30th birthday into a tribunal, and the verdict was already written. But beneath the panic, something sparked. Something iron. I thought of Rose's letter in my purse. I thought of the gray-haired woman in the corner. My mother pushed a pen toward me. Sign, she hissed. And I know, right now you're probably boiling with the same rage I felt. The pen in my hand, 50 people watching, my own mother staring at me like I was a stain to be removed. If you've ever been treated like an object by the people who are supposed to protect you, type I see you in the comments. And if you want to see the tables turn, drop a like so I know you're with me. Back to the nightmare. The pen hovered. My hand refused to comply. Sign it. My mother's eyes screamed, but something made me look up, not at her, at the room. 50 faces, distant relatives who only showed up for free food and gossip. They were props, weapons. Then I saw her again, the woman in the shadows. Plain black dress, no jewelry. She wasn't looking at me with disgust. She was looking at me like she was transmitting a signal. Hold fast, wait. I noticed her hands resting on a large leather tote. It looked stuffed, papers, or something else. My mother caught my gaze. Her head snapped toward the corner and for the first time her mask slipped. Fear, pure, unadulterated panic flashed across her face before she smoothed it over. Elena. My mother's voice was brittle ice. Focus. The paper. Who was this stranger? Why did my mother, who feared nothing, look at her like she was a ghost? Elena, my father barked. We're waiting. I set the pen down. I need a moment, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. To collect myself. My mother's smile was tight. Of course, darling. But her eyes darted back to the corner. The silence was heavy. But in the noise of my own head, I heard a different voice. Never let them shrink you, darling. You have the ammunition. Rose had said that 2 weeks before the end. I hadn't understood then. I was beginning to understand now. Under the table, I slid my hand into my clutch. My fingers brushed the envelope, Rose's letter. I had been too terrified to open it. That fear evaporated. Whatever was in there, Rose wanted me to wield it. I looked at the room full of people who wanted me to disappear. At my mother, the architect of this cruelty. Then at the woman in the corner. She gave a microscopic nod. Her hand moved to her bag. I wasn't alone. I didn't know the mechanics of it yet, but I had backup. Actually, I said, louder this time. I have something to say. My mother stiffened. What? Give me the mic. I grabbed the stand. You wanted an audience, Mother. Let's give them a show. This isn't a debate, Elena. Then why the microphone? I gestured to the setup. You planned every second of this. The seating, the witnesses, the notary in the corner. You wanted a spectacle. So let's make it one. Murmurs erupted. Uncle Bob shifted in his seat. My mother's eyes narrowed. This wasn't in the script. Fine, she spat, voice dripping with venom, but let's ensure everyone knows who is speaking. She turned to the room, prosecutor mode, engaged. My daughter had every advantage. We offered medical school tuition. She declined. We offered a role in the family trust. She chose to play in the mud. Someone snickered. Her first gallery show, my mother continued, mocking. 3 attendees. One was homeless. Heat flooded my cheeks. She was weaponizing my struggles, and when she was 23, my mother's voice. Rose, she came crawling back for rent money. Is this the person you want managing the Vance estate? My eyes burned, but I wouldn't cry. Not here. Are you finished? I asked quietly. My mother smiled. Sweetheart, I am just getting warmed up. She had no idea. So was I? Sarah stood up then. My little sister, the golden child. She pressed a hand to her chest, feigning heartbreak. I tried, everyone. I really tried. I went to her studio. I asked for a compromise on the lake house. Do you know what she said? She paused for effect. She said the property matters more to her than her own flesh and blood. Gasps. That is a lie. I cut in. It's the subtext. Sarah glared at me. You always care more about objects than people. That's why you're solitary. I stared at her. The sister I had protected from bullies. She was part of the rot. We have no choice. My mother sighed. This is an intervention. Sign it, my father said, holding out the pen again. Or leave and never return. 50 people held their breath. I looked at the paper. My signature would hand them Rose's sanctuary. I looked at the woman in the corner. She stood up. I closed my hand around the pen. My mother smirked. Then I dropped it. Clacked out no. The word hung there. Excuse me? My mother whispered. I said no. I stood up. I'm not signing. But I am reading. I pulled out the envelope. 6 months ago, Grandmother Rose passed. She left me the house because she knew this would happen. Elena, stop, my mother warned. Fear was back in her eyes. She left me a letter. I think you should hear it. I unfolded the paper. My dearest Elena, I read aloud. If you are reading this at a family gathering, the trap has sprung. The room went deadly silent. Margaret has always viewed people as assets. She tried to seize this house a decade ago. When I refused, she cut contact. I heard a gasp. She will use guilt. She will use the family, but you are not selfish. And this house is proof that you were loved unconditionally. I swallowed hard. I have left you something else, a safeguard. If you are reading this, look for your Aunt Claire. The sister Margaret erased 20 years ago. Explosion of whispers. Sister? Margaret has a sister? Claire has the receipts, I read, of everything Margaret has done. I lowered the letter. The woman in the corner stepped into the light. My mother went pale as a sheet. Hello, Margaret, the woman said, her voice clear. Did you miss me, my aunt? The secret weapon. Claire walked to the table, the crowd parting for her. Rose invited me, she announced. She said, when Margaret strikes, be there for Elena. You have no right. My mother shrieked. You are unstable. That's why we cut you off. I was cut off because I found the ledger. Claire stopped opposite my mother. 20 years ago, I found you skimming from Mom's accounts, forging checks, isolating her. Lies, my mother hissed. She's delusional. That's the story you sold. Claire turned to the room. But Mom never believed it. She just couldn't fight you alone. Claire, my father warned. This is inappropriate. Richard, spare me. You knew. Claire looked at him with pity. You just like the lifestyle, the stolen money. My father looked away. I have proof, Claire said, lifting her phone. Mom installed a recorder in her living room 3 months before she died. She told me to wait. She pressed play. My mother's voice filled the hall. We will ambush her. At the birthday, maximum humiliation. If she refuses, we shame her. My father's voice. And if she fights, mother again, she won't. She's weak. 50 witnesses and she will fold. Sarah's voice. What if she cries? Mother laughing. Let her. We can claim she's hysterical. Contest the will on mental competency. Claire hit pause. Uncle. Bob stood up. Margaret, what is this? A legal recording. My mother sputtered. Inadmissible. Recorded in Mom's house with her consent, Claire said calmly. Perfectly legal. The room turned. The energy shifted from judgment to horror. I think we're done here. I said into the mic. Mom, Dad, you wanted to disown me? Accepted, but on my terms. I face the crowd. I will not sign. The will stands. And Rose included a clause. Any attempt to contest the will through coercion forfeits the challenger's own inheritance. I looked at Mr. Henderson. He was already putting his stamp away dot, so go ahead, Mom. Through me. See what you have left, I dropped. The mic on the table. I'm leaving. Anyone who wants to join reality is welcome. I walked toward the exit. Elena, wait. My mother screamed. You will regret this. Stop it, Victoria, Uncle Bob barked. We heard the tape. She's lying enough. Aunt. Linda shouted. 20 years you lied about Claire. Chaos erupted. Accusations flew. My father sat like a statue. Sarah was sobbing, face in her hands. The plan failed, Claire said softly to them. Cruelty usually does. I walked out into the cool night air. My heart was racing, but for the first time, it was beating for me. Elena. I turned. Cousin Julie, Tyler, and young Lily were running after me. Can we come? Julie asked, breathless. That was insane. We don't want to stay there. Tyler added. My mom wants. And me to be like Sarah, Lily said, shaking. But I'd rather be like you. Tears pricked my eyes. Come on. There's a diner down the street. Who wants pie? God, yes. Tyler exhaled. We walked away, leaving the obsidian and its fake luxury behind. Through the glass, I saw my mother standing, alone, watching her kingdom crumble. That night, alone in my apartment, I cried the ugly heaving tears of a lifetime of holding my breath. I turned off my phone, ignoring the barrage of texts. I thought about the look on Dad's face, resignation. He knew, he always knew, but I picked up Rose's letter. Don't mourn the family you deserved. Build the one you choose. Okay, Rose, I whispered. I will. The fallout was swift. Julie told me Uncle Bob pulled his investment from Sarah's clinic. Mom's church friends ghosted her. Dad resigned from the club in shame. Sarah called once to blame me for ruining her life. I told her that was a burden she'd have to carry alone and hung up. I met Claire for coffee. We're getting to know each other. She told me Mom fears me because I'm the one thing she couldn't control. A month later, I stood on the deck of the lake house. I've started teaching pottery there on weekends. Julie comes, Tyler too. It's a mismatched, chaotic. Chosen family. My mother called one last time. Tried to bargain. If you apologize, we might reconsider. I looked out at the water. Mom, I don't need your money. I don't need your approval. And I don't need a family that views love as a transaction. My door is open to honesty, but closed to manipulation. Your choice. She hung up. She hasn't called back, and that's fine. They tried to bury me, but they didn't know I was a seed. My 30th birthday wasn't the end of my life. It was the beginning. If this story hit home for you, type boundaries in the comments. And if you want more stories about reclaiming your power, hit subscribe. Check the description for more. I'll see you in the next one. You deserve to be loved without conditions.